Welcome to Math Science History. I'm your host, Gabrielle Burchak, and today I'm excited to bring you a whole new season and a new endeavor. This is a monumental month because it's not only Women's History Month, but on top of that, it's also Podcasthon Week. It's a week-long annual event that podcasts for the good of our communities locally and internationally. And I'm so honored and excited to be part of this year's Podcasthon. It does my heart good to be part of such a philanthropic endeavor. Kindness and awareness is what the world needs right now. Today, I'm excited because I'm going to be interviewing Irene Duah-Kessie. She is the founder and executive director of RiseinSTEM. It's a Toronto-based organization that serves Black and marginalized youth and empowers them in the world of STEM, and now also in the world of athletics. This is such a fantastic organization, and if you want to look them up while you're listening to the podcast, visit RiseinSTEM.ca. Check them out. And please donate to this amazing, wonderful organization. It makes such a huge difference in Toronto's Black and underserved communities. RiseinSTEM is such an inspiring Toronto-based grassroots organization that promotes STEM learning and leadership among underserved communities. Irene is a multifaceted community builder dedicated to advancing health and STEM equity. Her background is impressive and inspiring. As an experienced researcher and evaluator supporting community-based projects focused on enhancing young people's health and educational outcomes, she holds a Bachelor of Science in Life Sciences from McMaster University and a Master of Science in Sustainability Management from the University of Toronto. In 2024, Irene was the recipient of the Black North Initiative's Youth Leadership Award. She was also the recipient of the Charity Village Award for the Best Individual Contribution to Advancing Youth in the Workplace and was listed in Canada's top 100 Black women to watch. No doubt, her confidence and passion directly reflect the success of RiseinSTEM. In her spare time, she enjoys nature trails, baking, and spending time with her family. Welcome to Math Science History, Irene. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
As you know, my name is Irene. I'm Ghanaian Canadian. I grew up in Etobicoke. And growing up, I always had this passion for science, particularly medicine. I feel like it was just very much championed in my community and my home. And yeah, I was just really inspired to really work with children and be a pediatrician. I went on to university to pursue life sciences. And when I got to my undergrad, that's where I started to experience different challenges with academia, whether it was like having good grades and staying ahead of my classes, just finding different social groups to be part of, navigating different opportunities and support, especially when it came to academics. I think the reality of the lack of representation of people of color, Black students, Black women in STEM was a big shock for me just because the neighborhood I grew up in was quite multicultural. Essentially, that reality prompted me to be more passionate about just supporting young people in STEM, learning more about different career paths and opportunities. And yeah, that led to me starting RiseinSTEM. In addition to RiseinSTEM, I'm a community researcher. I've done different work in terms of public community development and focusing on health equity initiatives.
So you're busy. That's amazing. Now, I love the fact that you recognized it and you immediately decided, okay, something needs to be done about this. Mm-hmm. And you created an environment where people could feel like they were represented in their community. Mm-hmm. I love that. So was that the platform that you used to build RiseinSTEM? Were there any programs that led up to RiseinSTEM that just basically pushed you into going, okay, we got to create this charity and this organization?
Yeah, I would say indirectly. So I was a part of a lot of different student advocacy groups when I was in university, one being the Black Aspiring Physicians of McMaster. And so I was able to support different workshops, mentorship, and career exploration opportunities for pre-med students. And then when I was in my undergrad and my graduate studies, I was able to be part of the Black Graduate Students Association. And that's where I got introduced to just other pathways in STEM specifically. And those different experiences and the different events that we were able to host and the opportunities that we were able to create, the networks, I was able to open my mind to say like, hey, we could do this for students at a much younger level. So that way they are more informed and prepared before they get into their undergrad and before they get into their master's or any graduate level of study.
I could see why that would be a passion for you, especially considering you wanted to be a pediatrician. You are located in Toronto. So upon starting RiseinSTEM, how much have you seen the community grow?
It's grown quite a bit. Yeah, just more than I could have imagined. When starting RiseinSTEM, I had a few friends that I asked to support the different speaking events with the students where we had different info sessions and then which led up to the workshops that we hosted. But I would say we started as a group of volunteers of 3. And now we are a solid team of 5, and we have many different student leaders that support our programming and then the participants as well. And now with our programs, we are able to implement it in partnership with other organizations, whether they're community groups, corporate institutions, or academic institutions. I think seeing how much we've grown in terms of the supports that we've received, building our community in that respect has been very, very validating to the work that we're doing.
That is so wonderful. So when did you start RiseinSTEM? Was it 2019?
Yes, it was 2019. September was our first program, a 12-week pilot. And then we were going to start a program in the spring of 2020. And then, as you know, COVID happened. For the early years of RiseinSTEM, we were virtual for the most part. And then in 2023 was when we started doing programming in person as well. So last year actually marked 5 years of RiseinSTEM.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you so much. And yeah, thank you. You were very much instrumental too in the beginnings of RiseinSTEM when, trying to establish our domain. And funny enough, you had the idea of like starting a similar organization with the exact same name. And so it was just really nice to have you reach out and offer to donate the domain to us. I think that really validated what I felt like I was trying to do, especially if I wasn't able to see the picture. I'm like, oh, wow, somebody thought it too. And I'm destined to be as it is. And it's really nice to kind of see how far things have come. And of course, to be connecting with you again.
Yes, thank you. Likewise, when I saw what RiseinSTEM was doing, I got a lump in my throat. It was like, this is so incredible. So I had to just say, run with it, go with it, make it something wonderful. And here you are 5 years later, making it an incredible organization that is truly helping your community. As you started RiseinSTEM, what were some of the biggest challenges that you saw Black and underserved youth facing?
We see youth face many barriers when it comes to accessing STEM education, especially with affordability being a big challenge. It's having access to technology tools, especially the latest laptop or iPad, or even like different softwares to practice different skills. Access to paid internships, I think, is a big challenge for young people. And for those who do go on to post-secondary education, tuition fees, and all that comes with if you're living away from home. That's something I had to learn the hard way. But I would say beyond the financial barriers is the lack of access to mentors, especially those that have shared identities and experiences and values as young students, and not having access to those mentors can make it harder to see yourself in these fields. Without that, opportunities could sometimes feel out of reach, or we only say out of sight, out of mind. I think with RiseinSTEM, like our focus is really about providing that mentorship, providing that exposure to different career pathways. And even if young people may not be as interested or aware or have that thought in their mind, I think remembering that person that you have a similar, you guys might be from the same country, it could help you kind of like think back to that opportunity. And then beyond that, just building their network and building that support system so that they could step into these spaces with more confidence and more support.
You have a quote that I read in one of your bios. You say you were able to cultivate your community, but for so many, if you can't see it, you can't believe it. There is nothing truer. Just having that reminder that there's a community out there who can help. So I'm curious to know, you had started during COVID. I can't imagine the impact that RiseinSTEM had for those students who felt like, okay, I'm on virtual now. Were you able to hold them in and keep them in the community?
I'm not sure. For the most part, all the students that we engaged with were in school because it was virtual learning. I know some of them, there would be challenges in terms of being able to pay attention. It's just a different environment, or the change in routine, I think, was a big challenge for students. But we just tried to really be there as a support for them. So we would host movie nights, virtual movie nights, where we would come together, watch a movie. We would deliver self-care kits for them to stay engaged. I think what we really tried to do was keep the connection going, just because with COVID really placed a lot of isolation in the community, especially for young people. And I think that they were impacted by that the most. So what we really tried to do was maintain connections. That was our big priority, and making sure that they had the support and the resources to stay connected. So like I mentioned, the self-care kits, but we also provide laptops for some students. We gave internet sticks for them. We really tried our best to make sure that there was support and connection. And COVID was actually in the first 6 months of us starting. So we didn't really have much capacity or reach, I would say, yet in terms of the students that we were working with. I'm really proud of what we were able to do, despite the very limiting resources that we had and the great impact that it was able to make.
This is so inspiring. When you started running RiseinSTEM, what was your biggest challenge? Or did you run into any challenges, or was it fully embraced by the community from the get-go? And if there were challenges, how did you overcome them?
I would say the biggest challenge, and still kind of is a challenge or has been, was finding space to run this programming, just because there's only so many community centers available in the community with so much spaces. And then there's a lot of different community groups. So I would say, yeah, that was a big challenge. And in the beginning, we were able to work with the YMCA. Working with YMCA really helped us tackle this, because not only were they able to provide a space, but it was a space that students in the community were already familiar with. And then they also had youth workers present that were very passionate about what we were doing as well. I felt like it was a very great alignment, and that helped us to really establish a foundation for the work that we're doing. Now we're working in the schools, which has been a great challenge, but very great milestone for us, because being in the schools allows us to be more integrated into what the teachers are teaching them and who the teachers are, just more into their routine. Like when they say meet the students where they're at, I feel like we're getting closer to that by working in the schools. And I've noticed a big difference in terms of retention of our programming now that we're collaborating with the school boards more closely and building relationships with educators and the administrators. And then I would say another challenge, of course, when starting something new, is funding. But I think we've been able to learn how to work within our capacity and focusing on growth and maximizing our impact with what we have. So for outreach, for example, we took a strategic approach to create a dedicated committee with participants who, I would say, aged out of our programming. And so we found a way to keep them involved, but also help us to plan, facilitate, engage with students. So yeah, I would say that overcoming those challenges has been able to help us be more adaptable and also be very intentional about where we allocate our resources and our efforts to.
So you bring up, when the students start to age out, how do you keep them involved once they get to a point where they're not in that age range?
I think it's just evolving our programming. And fortunately, in the past 5 years, we've been able to pilot different activities. When I say age out, I guess graduating high school. And so now we have a committee program for post-secondary students. Even though it's open to all post-secondary students, we, of course, encourage students who are part of our program to join this committee. And that looks like them providing us advice on the activities we're doing. They also receive support in terms of one-on-one supports in terms of their career development. And we've also been able to provide them with mental health support and overall just leadership training. And so that's one way that we do that. Another way that we do it is through our new research project. We implemented a new initiative to introduce community-based research to high school students. And so we are working with a few students to provide them with that training, and they are developing their own project on a topic that is important to them when it comes to their education. And so for the students that we're working with, they want to understand how there could be better supports for students who are transitioning into post-secondary education. So that's just another example where the students who were in grade 12 for that program are now in post-secondary, and they are building this kind of research project in real time as it reflects their own personal experiences, which has been really valuable in the sense of being able to create programs and resources and opportunities that align with how society is situated right now. That's a new program that I'm really excited about, and how we continue to students engaged with us after high school.
The community-based research, what does that look like?
It looks like really we, in the past year, have been having different monthly meetings and trainings with high school students. So really introducing them to key principles of community-based research and introducing them to different findings and data and processes of projects that have happened in Toronto when it comes to youth and education, Black youth experiences in particular. So the past year has focused on just different workshops to break that down for the students to understand the process and what is out there, what we know, what we don't know. And they've undergone different trainings around like data collection, data analysis, writing reports, and they've done that. And so they've developed a survey, they've developed interview questions and conducted interviews. I believe they were able to gather information from over 50 students in the community. And right now they're in the process of disseminating it. So it would look like reports, social media content, infographics. And yeah, I'm really excited to kind of see it grow and evolve, and just being able to see the students that we work with grow and evolve. They were grade 11, grade 12s, and now they're university students. And so I think they are learning in real time through even their own personal experiences through this research project. And like they're not only learning about themselves, learning about the community, but it's also helping them see how this could be a potential career pathway for them, especially because they are all in different disciplines from like science to marketing to neuroscience. And they can all see now how research could be applied to their fields of interest.
And I'm sure it also contributes to a level of critical thinking. It gives them power. It's a superpower, actually, to understand what's going on in the community at large and what they can do to challenge it and fix it.
Exactly.
I'm curious to know, do you see with women, we have the pipeline problem where women fall out of the pipeline in STEM. Do you see that also for Black and marginalized students?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's quite a bit of pipeline issues when it comes to just going through the education system, whether it's, high rates of dropping out or being suspended, so they're not as engaged in their studies and not necessarily having great relationships with their teachers. That's like kind of what we see consistently in research and data and just from people's experiences when you hear people share those sort of experiences. So I think even early in the education system, from that pipeline, we're seeing that be an issue for Black students or students facing any form of discrimination. And then going through post-secondary, and with that pipeline, then we're seeing more challenges in terms of navigating academia or the financial challenges. And then we also see when it comes to the workforce, there's hiring barriers, moving up the ladder. But we're seeing a lot of, especially in the past few years, a lot of organizations doing the work to remove those barriers or be more aware of where they exist and breaking down those systemic issues that are facing vulnerable communities.
That's incredible. Because I know, like on your website, you mentioned you've got programs that are geared towards younger kids, but it encompasses a broad range of ages and it continues to empower students even into their graduate studies.
Yeah, I think like our target has been high school students, but naturally the work ends up impacting and broadening to other age groups, especially older students. Now we're seeing this year and the past year, like younger students. The goal is to hopefully we can have supports for folks on every step of the process because it is a journey. Yeah, I think that will come with time as we grow.
I do want to ask you about your athletic program. I want to hear more about this.
So we started a new initiative called STEM Athletics that came about from our youth committee where they were giving us advice on our program. They were collecting feedback from participants and the feedback we got was that we want to do more fun activities and for students fun meant sports. And, and so we're like, okay, that makes sense. When I think back to when I was in high school or even elementary school, I was always part of some type of sports team or doing athletic activities. So yeah, I felt like it made sense. Like even though we are focused on STEM education, like STEM education isn't everything and sports is a really great example of that when you think of just athleticism and how our body moves and the equipment that we use for different sports. It kind of like had a click, like a aha moment. Like, of course, this would be a really great way, especially at the time. We noticed a lot of girls were joining and boys weren't as engaged. Boys generally are very engaged in sports. And it's evolved into us just creating opportunities to one, expand students' awareness of STEM related careers in the sports industry, but two, providing exposure and opportunities to experience what it's like to be a professional in sports, and then also providing student athletes with athletic training to complement what they're already doing now. We just started it with elementary school students, where we've done after school programming. They've been able to engage in different hackathons. We were able to take them to a basketball game this weekend, which was really exciting for them. And so, yeah, we're just looking for different opportunities to grow and introduce them to sports as well that they may not be considering or sports that are historically underrepresented as well, and showing them that the career opportunities that may be applicable to a sport you're interested, for example, like soccer, is also applicable to a sport like hockey. This program is exciting because I think we are complementing it by showing them another side of it that they probably are not considering.
So, what did the hackathon look like? What did that involve?
Yeah, so we got to participate in an annual hackathon, which is hosted by the Maple Leaf Sports Entertainment and the Toronto Raptors. They have it every year where they bring out young girls and women to learn about STEM and sports. For this year, we were able to bring a group of students and they were able to not only like hear from different sport professionals, but they were able to learn about how biomechanics and sports science work in terms of player development and sports strategy. They were introduced to virtual reality and how gaming works and how like athletes could use sports games to practice and build on their plays. And then they also were able to network and connect with other young students in the community through that program. So that was a really great experience. And we were really appreciative of MLSC and Raptors to have us part of that because I think it really gave us that real world experience in the sense of them hearing from professionals or sports scientists that actually work with some of their favorite players.
This is so inspiring. Now, when did you start the athletic program? What does the program look like?
We started this year and this is our pilot program. It's 12 weeks right now. We might do like a summer iteration of it. And then it would again be throughout the school year. It would probably be like offered twice during a school year. And then, like I mentioned, maybe like a summer iteration of it. And in terms of what we're offering, so it's athletic after school programming. And so they engage in different drills and exercises and activities to promote their athletic skills. They also engage in workshops that focus on different sports careers. And it's really learning about the pathways and hearing from different professionals about what their pathway looked like. And then on the other side of it is working with high school students. So we are hosting different workshops and sessions around their academic development in terms of scholarship supports, navigating post-secondary applications, and then again, introducing them to different careers and opportunities to build their athletic skills.
What started out as a program that was online for science, technology, engineering, and math has just become an inclusive program for everything that's all inclusive. How does RiseinSTEM help underserved communities with regards to access to digital tools?
In terms of the different skill building opportunities, we've been able to host workshops in areas like coding, web and graphic design, game development, ensuring that they have those hands-on experience to fields that are quite in demand. And then, of course, like focusing on like awareness and accessibility. So bringing in those experts to break down complex applications and essentially demystifying those pathways. But beyond that, we've been able to provide laptops to young students, tablets for free. And for some, it's like on a borrowed system. But that I've seen has been a really great support for young people, especially those who are seniors in high school or post-secondary students. I would say we're still trying to support young students in terms of bridging that divide. We're always actively trying to build different relationships, build our sponsorships so that we can create more opportunities to provide technical tools for young people to build their skills.
The Podcasthon program that I'm doing this for is international. So I wanted to find out, how can the global community, whether it's educators, corporations, people, individuals, anybody, how can they help RiseinSTEM? How can they help you build this incredible program and expand the mission? How can they help you?
We're always open to different partnerships and we're always looking to grow, like you had mentioned, and expand what we're doing. And so we're open to different partnerships to build the program and create new opportunities and amplify what's already there. We're also very much excited to just continue the work. So if folks follow us and amplify what we're already doing, I think that definitely goes a long way for us, and sharing opportunities that might exist within your company or your organization that we could share with other students. Because I think, at least from my experience, looking back, there were just so many opportunities that I just did not know of. And I think it's one thing to try and not be successful than to like just not know. We really are open to receiving information about what's out there, what's available, to pass that along and support young people to access or navigate in those different opportunities and experiences. And I would say lastly, just of course, one of our key priorities is really reducing financial barriers when it comes to education. So we're trying to establish scholarships and bursaries for students in our community, especially with this new STEM athletics program. For a lot of student athletes, they do rely on like funding support to pursue sports at a post-secondary levels. We're always looking for and accepting of different donations and funding partnerships to directly support this mission and create scholarships, bursaries, and just more programming. We're always welcoming collaboration from those who share our vision and want to help us scale this impact.
What advice would you give to young people, especially Black youth, who want to work not only in STEM, but in sports science, like the program that you are starting? What would you say to them to help them face systemic barriers that currently, unfortunately, still exist?
I think my advice is always to really stay open to new opportunities and truly be willing to try new things. I think for a lot of young people, it's kind of like you stick to what you know, or it's like, that's not for me. Especially if you don't see people like you doing it, you're going to assume that it's not for you. But STEM is so vast and so depth. And I think sometimes the path you're on isn't always where you're going to end up. But every opportunity, every experience helps you build your skill, and that eventually opens new doors for you. And so I would tell young people to always jump on the opportunity, especially students, because I feel like as a student, you don't realize it then, but there's just so much freedom and flexibility to just try new things, whether it's signing up for a club or, joining your student council or joining a student committee or being part of a community group, especially when you have time and you're not like held down by responsibilities, like greater responsibilities of life. I think for students and even post-secondary students, taking on experiential courses in areas that interest you, but you may have not really wanted to do. And so, yeah, I think the biggest thing is just being willing to try new things. And while you're doing that, seeking community. This journey doesn't have to be taken alone. And I think it's really important to connect with people who've walked this path before you and can offer that guidance. And hopefully Rise in STEM, we can be that community for young people. Keep pushing forward. Don't be afraid to take up space. And a great way to do that is by just trying new things.
You sound amazingly fearless. Who was your inspiration? Who inspired you to keep pushing forward and staying in everybody's space?
Honestly, like I want to say my mom, like in terms of like the fearlessness and just kind of seeing her go through life and overcome different obstacles despite the challenges that she might be facing. But there's many women in STEM I see like overcome many barriers. When I was in undergrad, there was one Black science professor, Dr. Juliet Daniels. She was very inspirational to me in terms of being great at what she does and also being a mentor, wearing so many different hats in the university. And yeah, another person that inspires me to be fearless, I think as of recent, has been Bozoma St. John. She's an entrepreneur, author, a marketer. Yeah, I think she really embodies the confidence that I aspire. And when you said fearless, she was the first person that came to my mind. And so I would say her as well.
If you have like one success story to share about Rise in STEM, what would that success story be?
I think it's just really seeing many students, I would even say like a handful currently of students who joined our program, let's say in grade 9 and grade 10. And now they are leading our programs. I think it's really beautiful to see that cycle of students coming in, having the support to tap into that talent, go on to pursue post-secondary, and now are contributing back to spaces that supported their journey. That has been really amazing to see. And like I had mentioned before, like a lot of the students that were part of our research program have now been able to open their mind to research as a potential career path in their discipline of interest, which has been really nice to see. Also, just being able to support students with accessing funding for their education. So we've been able to support students apply for scholarships and actually receive them. And so I think that has been really great to see. And again, just continuously building their skills, building their confidence and their knowledge in STEM overall.
Not only have you inspired, but you're getting it back in spades. That's wonderful. Congratulations, Irene. And I cannot wait to see where Rise in STEM is going to go next.
Thank you again for your support and for reaching out for this opportunity. I'm really happy that Rise in STEM has been able to connect us. And again, always appreciative of your support of the work we're doing.
You are welcome. And thank you for your valuable time. This has been such a pleasure. And it's so wonderful to connect with you, Irene. Thank you again. If somebody wants to reach out, how can they find you? You have a website, RiseinSTEM.ca. How else can they find you?
You'd mentioned our website. We have like a contact us form on our website, but we're very active on social media, particularly Instagram and LinkedIn. So Rise in STEM on both platforms, and you can send us a DM directly or direct message and we would respond right away, or by email at info@RiseinSTEM.ca.
And that wraps up this special episode with Irene Duah-Kessie of Rise in STEM. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed learning more about all the wonderful things that Rise in STEM is doing in the Toronto area. Please visit them at RiseinSTEM.ca and please make a donation. This is a grassroots organization that thrives on every donation they receive. And your donation goes towards such a wonderful mission, empowering Toronto's marginalized youth and setting them up for success. This also wraps up this special episode as part of Podcasthon. If you enjoyed it, please feel free to visit podcasthon.org to discover hundreds of other associations through the voices and talents of amazing podcasters. Finally, thank you for listening to Math, Science, History. And until next time, Carpe Diem.